They humiliated him in front of his father, thrashed him in front of his girlfriend. He stayed quiet, and just quiet till that one night, when he broke his silence with ruthless brutality.
Parsons is that of the man.
Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. The story kicks off when John Henry Clayton strolls back into the small, dusty town of Fowler, Wyoming, after being away for a long time. It's been years since he left, and when he finally steps foot in the house he grew up in, he's met with a cold, awkward reunion with his father, Reverend William Clayton. The old man is clearly not thrilled to see him. He quickly breaks the news that John's mother has died while he was gone. You can tell there's a heavy cloud of tension between the two. The Reverend doesn't hide how let down he feels. His son walked away from his family and ended up living life as a gunslinger, something the Reverend is clearly ashamed of. John doesn't argue. He shows up without any weapons, and when his dad points it out, he calmly says that part of his life is over. He's done with the violence. Later on, John goes to visit his mother's grave, quietly paying his respects. A bit later, John and his father head into the town to grab some supplies. Most folks don't even recognize John anymore, except for Mr. Parsons, the store owner, who remembers him as the guy who went off to fight in the war. While they're at it, the Reverend tells John to stop by the saloon to pick up some cider. Things get tense in the saloon when John mentions he's the Reverend's son. A loudmouth named Frank Tillman starts making fun of him for walking around unarmed. Frank brags about all the people he's killed, 4 to be exact, but John doesn't seem impressed. He doesn't even know who Frank is. Before things can escalate, a guy named Dave Turner steps in. He scares Frank off and gives John a nod of recognition, reminding him about the time he took down some outlaw named Big Jim Westfield. John, still not looking to stir up anything, tells him he's not interested in fights anymore and walks out. Back home, the Reverend fills John in on what's been going down. Some rich guy named James McSurdy has been hiring thugs like Frank and even experienced gunmen like Dave to scare off local farmers. The goal? Push them to sell their land so a railroad can be built through the area. The Reverend suspects that John's return might have something to do with it, but John denies it. Later, John is seen chopping trees to clear out a patch of land, something his mom always wanted done but never got around to doing. It's a small act of peace, a way of connecting with her memory. That night, the Reverend invites John to come to church, hoping maybe his son will reconnect with his faith and find peace. John isn't interested and brushes it off. The next morning, while his father heads off to preach, John keeps working in the field. Meanwhile, after church, some townsfolk gather to discuss their options. The sheriff bailed on them in the middle of the night, and they're getting desperate. They talk about hiring some gunmen to protect them. Reverend Williams stands firm, telling them violence isn't the answer. He says he's already written to the U.S. Marshal for help, but the people don't believe anyone's coming. They've been poor all their lives. Why would the law start caring now? Later that day, John gets a visit from Mary Alice, the girl he used to love. She heard he was back in town. She's married now to a man named Tom Watson and has a son. She admits she waited for John for years, but when she never heard back, she had to move on with her life. Back in town, Frank and his crew target a man named Daniel Peterson. They try to scare him into selling his land, but Peterson doesn't back down. He ends up getting beaten badly by Frank right in the middle of the street. John sees the whole thing and walks over, asking Frank to stop and let him take Peterson home. Frank tries to provoke him, asking what he plans to do about it. John, calm as ever, says he won't do anything. Surprisingly, Frank lets him go. Some locals come to help carry Peterson away. That night over dinner, John seems shaken. He opens up a bit about his past, talking about how serving in the war made him lose faith in God. He saw too many good people die for no reason. His father doesn't take it well. He accuses John of joining the war just for the thrill of killing. The next day, Dave, Frank, and their gang head to Peterson's farm. Peterson greets them with a shotgun, determined to protect his land. Dave tries to talk him down, reminding him that he's got a wife and kids to think about. For a second, it looks like Peterson might listen, until Clyde, one of Frank's goons, suddenly shoots him dead. Clyde mocks Dave, saying all he ever does is talk. Without a word, Dave shoots Clyde on the spot and dares anyone else to challenge him. Nobody does. After Peterson's funeral, the townspeople want to pay John $200 to defend them, but the Reverend won't allow it. He tells them John isn't a killer anymore. Meanwhile, Dave has a sit-down with McSurdy. He's mad about Clyde's behavior, but McSurdy doesn't care. Clyde's stunt actually worked in his favor. Now Peterson's widow and 2 more families have agreed to sell. He gives credit to Frank's harsh tactics, but says he still needs Dave in case John decides to get involved. Back at the Clayton home, John keeps working on the land. Heath and his father get into a heated fight. John accuses his dad of wishing it was him who died instead of his brother, William. Reverend Clayton denies it, insisting that's not true. Elsewhere, Frank and his boys try to rough up Mr. Chadwick at his home. But the townsfolk have had enough. They ambush the gang, managing to kill one of Frank's men. The survivors, including a wounded Frank, barely escape. Frank, convinced someone betrayed them, kills one of his own guys on the spot as a warning. John drops by Mary Alice's house. They share a quiet moment, thinking back to when they were younger. Before John went to war, she had given him a red ribbon from her hair and told him to return it if he still loved her. John tells her she made the right choice marrying Tom. He says goodbye and leaves. What they don't know is that Tom sees the whole thing from a distance. Later that night, Tom brings it up. He asks Mary Alice if she still has feelings for John. She tells him no, he's her husband, and she has no regrets. Somewhere, tucked away, John still keeps that old red ribbon. Things get worse when McSurdy yells at Frank for messing things up with the townspeople. He's worried Frank's sloppy actions might push more folks to fight back. To fix things, Frank ends up killing Mr. Chadwick. Chadwick's widow ends up selling her land, but she tells McSurdy that when someone finally brings him down, she'll be the first one to spit on his grave. Later, while John and the Reverend are in town shopping, Frank and his crew barge into the store and cut the line. Frank deliberately spills his drink on the floor and on his own boot, and then forces John to wipe it up in front of everyone, humiliating him. John does what he's told and tries to walk away, but before he can even get far, the gang jumps him. They corner him and beat him up badly right there on the street. Outside, his dad is being held back by the same gang, screaming for someone to step in and help, but the crowd just watches silently. Mary Alice sees what's happening and tries to rush in, but Tom grabs her arm to stop her. She shakes him off, insisting that John is her friend, and runs toward the scene. After the attackers finally back off, Mary Alice and the Reverend help John get home, carrying his bruised and bloodied body together. Meanwhile, back at the saloon, McSurdy seizes the opportunity to twist the situation in his favor. He talks Tom into selling the land and leaving town for good. He makes it sound like it's the only way to protect his family from more trouble. Feeling trapped, Tom finally agrees. The next day, Dave stops by John's place to check on him. He tells John not to do anything stupid or seek revenge. Even though they never really hung out before, Dave says he respects him, especially since they both fought in the war. John listens quietly and assures him he's not planning to start anything. A few days pass, and John shows up at church, surprising everyone. His father tears up at the sight, overwhelmed with emotion. After the service, Mary Alice greets John with a warm smile, clearly glad to see him back. But Tom shows up again, pushing John and accusing him of loving Mary Alice. John doesn't say a word. He just walks away. That moment makes Tom pause. He starts to think maybe John wasn't the bad guy after all. Feeling guilty, Tom decides not to go through with the land sale. He finds McSurdy and tells him straight up that the deal's off. McSurdy, furious, reminds him that they had an agreement and warns that he'll regret backing out. Later, John is sitting alone in the church, lost in thought. His dad comes in and sits next to him. John opens up for the first time about what's been haunting him. After the war, he drifted from town to town and eventually ended up in a small Kansas town called Norton. One night at a bar, 2 men picked a fight with him. He fought back and killed them both. But one of his bullets missed and hit a little boy who was just walking by outside. The kid died instantly. That boy reminded John of his younger brother, William, who had also died. The guilt of killing that innocent child has been eating away at him ever since. While John is confessing all this, McSurdy and his crew head to Mary Alice's house. They deliver a cold message. Tom had signed the land over, so they've got just 32 hours to leave or face consequences. Scared and unsure what to do, Mary Alice goes straight to John. She pleads with him to help, but John urges her to take the deal and leave town. He tells her it's the only way to keep Tom alive. That night, Reverend William personally walks into the Lion's Den, McSurdy's saloon, and begs for the Watson family to be spared. But McSurdy refuses to show any mercy. As the Reverend leaves, Frank and the rest of the thugs ambush him in a dark alley and stab him. Luckily, some locals find him and rush him to the doctor. Later, McSurdy yells at Frank for going rogue without permission. The next morning, John is sitting beside his father, who has just come out of coma. Reverend Clayton begs his son not to go after revenge. He's scared John will get himself killed. But John is calm and firm. He tells his father that someone has to put an end to all of this, and he's the only one who can do it. John goes to a hiding spot and pulls out his old gun. Then he stops by the general store for something stronger. Mr. Parsons, seeing the determination in his eyes, hands him a rare weapon, a Humiliate revolver. It's got 9 rounds and a built-in shotgun barrel. Fully armed and resolved, John walks straight to McSurdy's saloon. The townspeople stand in silence as he passes by. Inside, John doesn't waste time. He asks for little Ned and, before anyone can blink, shoots him dead. Guns are drawn, and John tells the rest of the men that if they don't want to die, now's their chance to leave. Some do, but those who stay, John takes them out with deadly precision. Only Frank manages to run upstairs, but John catches up quickly and ends it with a bullet to the head. As John walks out of the saloon, Dave is waiting for him. Dave tells him he can't just let him go. He's still working under orders. John tells him to walk away while he still can. Then he admits that the Humiliate is heavy and might slow him down. He asks if he can go back inside and grab his Colt. Dave nods. John heads inside, but doesn't come back out. Instead, he quietly moves upstairs where McSurdy is hiding by a window, shaking with fear and holding a gun. But he's too slow. John shoots him down, and McSurdy's body crashes out the window onto the street below. With McSurdy dead, Dave no longer has a reason to fight. He lowers his weapon and lets John go. But John knows it won't be long before bounty hunters or thrill seekers come chasing after him. He decides it's time to disappear. His father begs him to stay, but John promises they'll meet again. Then, he rides off into the distance. A year later, Mary Alice passes away. John doesn't show up for the funeral, but someone ties a faded red ribbon to her grave, a quiet sign that he hadn't forgotten. After his father dies, John never comes back to the town again. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Your support means the world to me. Also, feel free to share this with your friends. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.